Uh, so yeah, I guess as uh, economic and some of social and political indicators kind of have continued to signal that we're going through this global sort of transition out of the industrial age and into the digital age. We could argue that it's now necessary to really go beyond the data and the ideas that the web sort of joins together and look at the actual human connections, because it's not just our ideas and our data that are connected online anymore. It's really all of us. Um, and that's one of the foundational sort of principles why I think social capital is going to be so important to organizations throughout the digital age.
Mm-hmm. Um, Absolutely, it's taken on a new existence now with social media, and I think particularly in organisations, if you can grasp the concepts of social capital and how it itself can foster innovation and make connections between employees, and if then employees can understand that social capital, if they can build it, can actually enhance their careers. Like, it's going to have a massive benefit for organizations, and then the use of social media for organizations then jump out and use some enterprise software for their employees to connect. You're going to find many more ideas and some really great innovation, and even improve employee morale through these programs and through enabling their employees to talk to each other. So I think social capital and through the use of social media, like, if they grasp the concepts and they understand the concepts and they're not scared of it, there's so many benefits on many levels for organizations.
Okay, but um, employees are not always happy to um, connect online with well with the organization they work for. So like really struggling to get my colleagues to allow me to tag them on pictures, on the Facebook page of the company we work for. So how exactly do you gap that bridge, from personal to work stuff?
Um, I think for work stuff, it's really good for, like, if it's a top down, bottom up approach with management. Like, if the organization allows and encourages staff to talk to each other, so they can open up, even if it's a something so easy as a private Facebook page, or you go into the more uh, organizational specific software as SharePoint or Yammer and whatnot, and encourage employees to share and discuss ideas through those platforms. They can encourage them through staff communication, committees, newsletters, that kind of stuff, to get on these networks and share. Like, the organization does have to make sure that they have a policy framework in place, but most companies do have that now for social media, or they're in development. So if they can put these in place, then the sharing on social media, so the walls do come down a bit. And if they don't have those in place, and there is someone that's keen on it within the organisation, there's always that room for a champion for social media use in organisations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a complex concept, right? Social capital is kind of understood differently by various,
Oh yeah.
writers and practitioners across disciplines. I think it's widely accepted that it's sort of a metaphorical mirror to financial capital. You're not going to really be able to exist as an organization in the 21st century without it. That said, I think organizations a lot of the times want to go and sort of have the entire organization participating at once. And so you make a policy and you say, okay, everybody act like this, now go do it. Where there's always these sort of early adopters that are just chomping at the bit to actually get involved and tag themselves and tag other people and take the lead. So I think there's a responsibility to sort of work on your sort of executive or your decision making branch of the organization to get them to understand the value of it. But at the same time, I think it's probably better to get a small pilot project together where you get the early adopters together, you build some small wins, and then you get other people that are more comfortable with kind of joining the game sort of after there's less risk involved. And so I think it's up to practitioners to build more of a culture than it is to build a structural framework. But that's obviously open for debate.
I think I tend to agree with that. I think so. I'll just add one thing that.
Just asking your.
So go ahead, Alana.
Sorry, maybe just asking, your colleagues, like how they see this matter. That would help. That would, create an open.
Yeah, and a lot of it I think is, again, I think the piece is more cultural than it is structural, but as practitioners or a marketing department or a consultant, I think 90% of the battle that you have is rooted in education and getting people to understand and get comfortable with not really the technology, because it's pretty simplistic, but just with themselves as a broadcaster, and getting people comfortable with the fact that, guess what, if you're involved in this space, it's going to be expected that you share what you're passionate about with the world. And if you're not prepared to do that, then I think you should focus your time on the people that are. And those people, once the ship leaves, I think will sort of tend to follow along. Might be a little bit later than you'd like, but at least you've got something started and something going.
I think you start small with a lot of these things in the social space, in an organization. You have big goals, but you start small and grow up from there. Let it snowball and go viral in its own time almost.
Like grow organically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think particularly within really taking this with internal, but really within an organization, there is you have the captive audience. You might have 100, 200, 1,000, 10,000 people, but they're all in the same network. They're all captive, and they're all there for the same reason to grow the company, to work for the company. And so probably within an organization, it presents a different set of challenges, because you have people that are worried about their careers and their jobs and stuff like that. But there's also more opportunities, because you know exactly who you're targeting. There's there's a finite amount of people, and you have their contact details, and so you just have to work out how to engage with them for the culture of that organization too.
Yeah, and Sam actually said something in the podcast that really resonated with me around, I don't even know what you call it, I guess reputational transparency, where organizations are seeking to be known for something, I think was the phrase that he coined. And that, I thought that was a really good descriptor, because companies don't really have a choice whether or not they want to expand their social networks and cultivate these sort of meaningful quality relationships with people in those networks. They can do that by sort of going above and beyond what their mission statement is, or sort of, finding this high-end, authentic commitment to community. I don't really see how any business is going to be able to escape that going forward. And so if you're known for something, and you were known by that because you bought a lot of advertising and interrupted people, and became known for it. I think you have to do the same thing. It's just, it's a different process, and one's going to exist and one's not. So it's a great time to sort of make that transformational leap, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, what did they say? It's not what you know or who you know anymore. It's what you're known for. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and what better way to become known for something to send out free dribs and drabs of it every day?
Exactly.
And that's what the organizations need to understand. It's not about making this huge buy, interrupting everybody for a month, and then wondering why nobody's paying attention to you. If you engage people and ask them what they think about your product or your service or whatever, and then you make it better based on that feedback, it's just a golden opportunity, to kind of get in front of people. It's like what Apple did with those sort of talks every year, and they go to sort of the AppleCon equivalent. They basically run like a 5-hour commercial, and Steve would get up, and other people would get up and say, look at our products and check it out. And they basically give permission for everybody around the world to spread the notion of them. And they were brilliant at it, and it was a cultural thing. It wasn't an advertising thing. But at the end of the day, when you break it down, it was really a big 5-hour commercial that everybody else paid through their time and intellect to spread the word. So I think that, yeah. Yeah, the dividend for business and social capital is so lucrative that it's worth it for organizations even to spend time outside of their own industries making connections. And that same with government and nonprofit organizations. It's just a really cost-effective way to do business.
Absolutely, and I think you look at educational institutions these days. Education's a business now. It's not you don't have a right to exist as you may have once, but there's so many opportunities for them to get out in the community just through their base product of education. You can go out and engage with organizations or tourist bodies to offer short courses. You can engage with government to push their agenda. You can engage with schools and with other people to assist with the expertise that you have on staff that they may need to get, and really go out in a new vision of community, not so much community engagement, but you're out there, you're in new spaces, you're meeting new people, and through that area you're going to improve your reputation, and then pipeline people through hopefully into your organization, and with that you're out there building social capital. They come to you, you build your then you build your customer base, which ends up building your bottom line. So little ideas at the start to go out into new areas or engage different people can really go out and build your capital, and by and part improve your profitability.
That's a great point.
Then I'm sure that can be transcribed into retail businesses, particularly ones with bricks and mortar stores. They really need to go out and find out how they can engage with others and build their capital with consumers or with other businesses to try and increase their sales at the other end. Prove that they're something more than just a retail store, prove they're something more than someone selling shoes or clothes or something. So they can, even if at the end they just sell more shoes and clothes, there's going to be something in the middle there to engage your customer, get into their space, get into their head, so they're aware of you. They're aware that you're a good corporate citizen as well, and so that you're not just invading, as an organization, you're not just invading consumer space through paid advertisements or something. And hopefully through that you'll build your capital, which in turn hopefully will build your financial results as well.
It does come down to that,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the actual definition of social capital that I like the most is from Dave Gauntlet. I forget the name of that book now. Making is Connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to your point, uh, his definition of it was uh, it started life as a metaphorical mirror of financial capital. Just as a supply of money can enable you to do things that you could otherwise not do, a stock of social relationships will make it easier to do things that you otherwise could not. And these relationships are central to the smooth running of a society. So, based on that definition, there's not really, it's not really a choice or something that you can not engage in, right? It's back in the day, you couldn't say, I'm going to run this business, but I choose not to do it using capital. I guess maybe when you're there fur trading and things like that, you'd be able to score that, but you still have to make relationships, right? So it always seems a business kind of like, should we invest in it and should we start it? But we're far past that point. You can't operate your business without this kind of social capital. And the more that businesses get hacked by the web, to your point again, Sam, about education getting hacked by the web, music industry getting hacked by the web, newspapers getting hacked by the web. The only way they can reorganize is to build relationships online and figure out a new distribution model. Kind of like the people that did it, when the music industry got upended and everybody started suing everybody, and then one company started selling songs for 99 cents online, and they started making like $10 million a month. And so it's, I'm not saying it's easy to figure out those business models, those relationships, but
Actually, there's still suing. Didn't YouTube lose in Germany? I think it's pretty recent. So this music company sued YouTube for copyright infringement and won. So it's not only
yeah,
us.
it's a waste of time and money. And I understand if you're a king and you're losing your kingdom, I understand that you send out the troops and you try to bring people down. But I think that ship has sailed, right? Like even I saw an interview with Neil Young the other day, and he said, I think this was the exact quote: "Piracy is the new radio." And so he was talking about when he was shredding back in the day. He said, we thought that these DJs were stealing our music and playing our stuff. And really, after, about a year or so, we were hanging out with these guys, getting drunk with them because we were begging them to play our stuff because that's how the notion of us spread. And so, sure, when he makes an album, would he like someone to, listen to it in this super high quality den of, audio excellence and pay for it? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's free publicity. And the bands that embrace that are global brand names, and the bands that don't are.
Yeah, I really liked Spotify's sort of policy statement um, that their aim is to build um, a tool, that would allow people to, I don't know, listen to quality music for free and just basically access that content more easily than the pirated one.
Yeah, well,
So
it's interesting too. The group Anonymous is sort of coming out and hacking the industry because they feel that they're just being greedy, and so they're making free software platforms, kind of like the Pirate Bay, except the law's on their side because they're just going out and sort of indexing sites that are actually legal, like I guess
Mm-hmm.
YouTube would be an example, and I forget that other radio station,
Mastercam.
Groove Shark, and things like that, and they're indexing that and just making the music available online, just to further kind of stick it to the industry. So
Well, that goes for movies too, right? A couple of websites like Movie 2K or Solar Movie. They basically index links to third-party websites, which I don't think are that legal, but basically all they do is just link to this content.
yeah, and it's less about whether it's legal or illegal and more about a customer preference, right? So you can argue quality and all that kind of crap, but if you look at Netflix, Blu-ray's like 5 orders of magnitude better quality than Netflix. Um,
Hmm.
but you know what I mean? Netflix is convenient, it's cost effective, and it's a lower quality product. And they're making more money than Blu-ray ever will. And so they need to focus on customer values, not the law, and because it's never going to be able to keep up.
That's true. Right? I suppose Netflix is just addressing to another target, another market segment, just people who want easy access.
Yeah, and it's some artists don't like it, some do. I guess if I was Marty Scorsese and I was watching Bill the Butcher do some awesome scene, on somebody's phone, I guess I would kind of be pissed off because I guess it from his perspective it would be hacking the art, and I respect that. It's just not everybody wants to go to a museum to look at the art, and so if you're making the art for some kind of commercial purpose, then at some point you have to sort of bend to the will of the people that are actually going to look at it or consume it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's actually not art, and mm, it's content generated by and for the people, so it's not like there is a higher instance, trying to preserve a certain quality standard, like in art that you mentioned.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess that depends on your definition of art, right? Is song art, is music art, is picture on the wall art? Yeah, it's you spend a lot of time doing something, you want it presented in a certain way, and then people just kind of steal it. That's not right either, and the rights of artists need to be protected. But I don't think they're going to be protected by uh, suing through the law and that sort of method. But I guess time will tell.
So I think, like, if you move on and you look at how the market changes, and if you don't change with it, and you expire your social capital through lawsuits, you just got to look at Kodak. They, pre-digital, they ruled the roost, and they kind of refused to move on and refused to continue to engage with the customers and what they want. And then, it turned out that their only really viable income stream was to sue people for patent and copyright infringement, which then meant that no one really wanted to do business with them anymore. So they just sort of slowly became a less and less viable company until now we see that they're in receivership. So because they didn't they didn't keep up with the trends, they didn't engage with their customers, and then when they did engage with people, it was with a negative aspect to it. So
Yeah. And where was the outrage when we went from like point and click cameras that my mom still rocks to a digital camera? You didn't see the entire industry saying, well, we're going to sue everybody who has a digital camera. It just didn't happen. But
exactly.
for the music and movie industry, it seems like, yeah, let's make legislation called the Stop Online Piracy Act, and we'll try and stop it altogether. Just because our industry is still worth a lot of money, and we can hire people that can influence policymakers. It's so transparently ridiculous. I'm just not sure what they're. But I get, you know what I mean. If I was making that kind of money every month, I guess I'd work to protect it too. But I don't know. Looking back, it seems kind of silly.
Diversify. Keep up. There's still ways to make money. Fuji did it. They were making film at the same time as Kodak, and they're going great guns. And Kodak's going out of business. So, well, going out of business. So, it's business practices. It's enabling that innovation that that you have to keep up with what is always now going to be a rapidly changing market for anything. I don't think anything's going to stay still.
Yeah. I'm just writing. Dave sent us a tweet here asking if we're still going. So I'm just responding to.
That's interesting. Does Dave ever sleep?
Yeah, because what is it? Yeah. Must be 12:15.
Yeah. I'll see if he's. I'll send him an invite. See if he shows. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to cover?
No, I think
Yeah. It's very interesting hanging out with you guys.
That's definitely.
I bet it was.
I certainly appreciate you hanging out, and no, you raised some really interesting points. So no, I found it.
It's some good questions.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we could do this like more often. You know, all of us, social media students, maybe hanging out once in a while. That would be pretty cool.
That would be kind of cool, actually. We were actually talking about that, how maybe we got together in groups for this particular assignment. It might have been more useful because everybody's engaged and already knows a little bit about what we're studying, where some of the people that came to the hangout were some of them were actually genuinely interested. They just really had no understanding really of what we were talking about. But that could have also been our delivery, I suppose.
I think.
No, I think we're very used to talking to industry people. Sometimes we forget how to make things simple and accessible for a wider audience. So yeah, but I really liked your hangout and your subject, so I'm all up for doing it again.
Yeah, it would be cool to hang with the class now and again. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just we don't get a chance to sort of do that in class.
Yeah, I know.
Mm. It's just finding a time is always difficult with me 10 hours ahead of or 9 hours ahead of UK and Jeff at 8 hours behind or something. So we make it difficult for ourselves.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly keen to connect more.
Okay, guys. Thanks. Good luck with your assignments.
You
too. Yeah. Good luck next week.
Okay. I'll see you.
Ciao for now.
See ya.
If that's the case for you. Okay. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye. Cool. Yeah.